Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster. Want us to know how to separate the mountains from each other to give more definition to this photo. So the first problem I'm seeing is that there is haze in this outdoor photo because there usually is between the lens and the farthest background. So let's use the haze removal. So I'm going to come over here and unlock the photo. Now we can come over to Enhance and skip the Auto Haze Removal and come down to Haze Removal. And that allows us to apply haze removal, but we can adjust the amount that we want. So I can lessen it over here, or I can make it really more contrasty. And that's basically what the haze removal does, is it adds contrast to the photo. So I'm going to leave that right around there, and I bet you that alone is going to make the photo look a lot better. There's the before and after. When I hit OK, watch the photo, boom, and there's the afterwards. It basically made everything a lot more contrasty. Now, if we really want to do some more separating, then we really have to separate the layers of the mountains into their own layers within Elements. So what I'm going to start with is the sky on its own layer. So we want to capture the sky using the magic tool. Right now the tolerance down here is set to 30%. Watch what happens. It's not going to capture everything. And we can see that it skipped some of the blue down here. So we want to go a little bit higher than that. I'm going to undo that. Let's try this at about 50% tolerance and click it down here. That looks a lot better. A lot more what we want. Now it's missing some up here, but that's okay because I can hold the shift and you can see there's a little plus sign and click up here where it didn't get it before, and now it just added all of that into the first selection that we had done earlier. Now I can go ahead and right click and hit cut, and that creates a whole new layer. If I turn the background layer off, there's our new layer. I'll leave the sky off for now and move on to the next layer, which is going to be this mountain section. This is going to be harder to get with the magic tool. We're going to have to use the eraser and physically cut it out. In order to do that, I'm going to be cutting over some of the mountains, so I don't want to lose those. I want to right click and duplicate that layer so we can capture the part of the mountains that we're erasing. So I'm going to turn that bottom layer off, work on that middle layer, and I'm going to use an eraser, soft eraser. That's at about 15 point. That looks good. And I'm basically just going to carefully erase along the mountains underneath. Once I get down to here, just do this by hand also. It's pretty easy peasy. And then over here, just get rid of those leaves, and now we got ourselves the mountains. Let's go ahead and with Polygon tool, and now we can just cut out those mountains in between where we erased. And the reason we had used the soft eraser is because the polygon tool is going to be way too sharp if we use the polygon tool alone. If we were doing sharp graphics like words and stuff, we could just use the polygon tool alone. But since this is mountains with a lot of fuzzy out of focus stuff, we want to first erase it. So I'm going to right click and hit cut. And watch up here, it's going to create its own layer, and there it goes. I'll turn the mountains off now. And what we're left with is the part of the mountains that we had cut out. So I'm going to right click and delete that layer and work on that bottom layer that still has these mountains. So what I want to do is create a layer overlap. I'm going to grab the first two top ones and watch the photo. I just hit the shift down button to bring the mountains down just a tad, and that actually creates an overlap, which is more of a layer. Let's take the sky and go over to Enhance Lighting Brightness and watch what we can do. We can make the sky less contrasty, more contrasty, and then less bright or more bright, or somewhere in between. I think if we go a little more contrasty and bring the brightness down, here's the before and after. See, we added a little more color to that by making it more contrasty. Next is the mountains. So what we want to do is go to Enhance Lighting Brightness, and since you wanted the snow to come out, let's go ahead and brighten that. We can make it darker or a little bit brighter, and this makes the white more whiter, but it also made the dark areas more lighter too. So we can take that contrast, bring the contrast up, and that darkens the darker area once again. The whole piece looks a lot brighter than it was before. Watch the before, after, before, after. It's much more vibrant. Now we take that bottom layer, which is the front half there. Let's do the same thing there. Go to Enhance, Lighting, Brightness and Contrast, and watch what we can do. We can make it less contrasty, more contrasty, less bright, more bright. I kind of like it just a little bit up at about 13% up, and the contrast up at about 24%. Here's the before, after. It's very subtle, but it looks really nice. And there we go. We got a nice picture that's got a lot more definition in between all the layers of the mountains. And this is it for this tutorial. This is Rich, calling it quits, saying over and out.